What's up everyone? I know a lot of you have been asking about the macros that I use, so in this video let's go over a few of them. I don't have too many, but certainly enough to make things feel a lot smoother overall and to get the best out of your character to hopefully do a little bit more damage. Now my first one, which is probably my favorite overall, is the ability to auto-target. So if I show you what I mean, say for example we've got this training dummy in front of us. If I open up my spell book, if I hit Mind Blast, or Mind Spike, or Mind Sear, nothing happens, right? Because I don't have any target selected. But if I add this into my macro, which I'll show you now, where are we? Mind Blast. If we go clear target dead no harm / target enemy no exists, if we put that as a condition before casting Mind Blast, it's going to look for a target in our in our vision where we're currently directing our camera, and it's going to make that our focus. So you'll see we've gone from in our spell book Mind Blast, Mind Blast, Blind Blast, nothing happens, into now hitting Mind Blast here. Instantly, it snaps onto that dummy in front of us. Now, this is obviously really helpful during a a raid fight where there's a lot of target swapping. Maybe the boss phase is in and out, and you've got to wait to try and quickly apply your dots. Especially helpful during the opener, right? If you're like frantically targeting the boss to try and get your Shadow Fiend out in that first global just before Bloodlust goes out. All these things add up and certainly do make a bit of a difference. Now, as you can see from the condition, it's only going to clear the target if it's dead. So if we're still focusing this one, but now I run out of range, I want to now attack this one. If I hit that macro again, it's still locked in on that target over there. So you'd need to clear target, hit the macro again, and now it's going to swap to this one here. Now, as you can imagine, the caveat with this would be that maybe not so much during a raid, but perhaps during dungeons or whatnot. If you're frantically spamming all these buttons, it is going to look for the nearest target, right? So, for instance, the tank doesn't want to pull that, or if you didn't mean to pull aggro or whatever, that is something to take in mind and be careful of. But it's very helpful, especially during the leveling process. If you're looking to try and tag a mob, it's going to be pretty hard for somebody else to beat you if you've got this baked into all your major spells, which is what I do, right? So Mind Blast, Mind Spike, Mind Sear, all of my dots, I have that function always built in, and that way when we're swapping targets, say like a council fight, very easy to never lose that rhythm, always keep that flow as best as possible. Now the second one, which has been around for quite a while now, fantastic little WeakAura, it's called Fake Q. You'll see that I've got this baked into all of my major spells that I want to function with, which is the Run FQ. I'll show you what it does. You'll see here it's a very complicated add-on because it's got all these different conditions and options that you can set. Now, I'm no expert when it comes to setting this one up. From my understanding, you want to try and set it near where your ping is, but I know in the Shadow Priest Discord they discuss it in greater detail. I already play on 1 MS, which is insane, because I'm based in Sydney, so I must be living right next to the server. So how much of this is helping, I'm not too sure in my case. But really, you want to make sure that your average delay in casting those spells from going into a dot into clipping your Mind Flay, you want to make sure this is as low as possible. Because the lower that number, that means the quicker your response time, lower GCD, more spells across the fight, that's more damage. So it all does add up incrementally, and especially in these early few weeks of Cataclysm where fights are taking a bit of time, we're running into minor issues, so you might as well get the best bang for your buck and do the most damage possible. I think my final one, nothing too crazy with this one, is the ability to you make sure that you're always in shadow form. So I currently have this bound into my Fortitude. You'll see here, cast no form shadow form. You'll see what I do. If I cancel shadow form here, if I hit the macro, it's going to first of all say, well, before I hit Fortitude, I need to make sure you're in shadow form. I hit it a second time, and there comes out the buff. This is very helpful, especially if you ever get asked to do things like Leap of Faith or Divine Hymn, because that will take you out of shadow form. So I'll show you this. Out of shadow form we go. Maybe you need to get a couple of ticks in because the raid's taking a whole bunch of damage. Hit that macro again, and you're back into shadow form. Just helps save one extra key binding rather than having to macro shadow form over here. You can just combine it into one other spell. So those are the major things that I use. I think the final one actually would be this one for Archangel, our latest spell. I've got pretty much every on-use bit of extra power all cooked into this. Generally speaking, I like to wait until Mind Blast has come off cooldown during the opener to then pop it with Archangel. That way it feels a little bit more responsive because there is no GCD attached to it. Saves you having to then, frantically play piano on your keyboard and switch between 2 different keys to get the ball rolling. Generally speaking, you should be using things like Berserking during the opener to farm for those Shadow Orbs. You want to try and fish for that proc. Then to also haste snapshot your dots like VT and Devouring Plague. But certainly as the fight goes on in that second rotation, maybe you're waiting for Bloodlust, maybe you're waiting for your second pot, you're all wanting everything to be out there for those massive, massive Dark Angel windows, then this can certainly, cook everything into one and make it very easy. So those are the majority of my macros. You'll see if I go across a few others, Leap of Faith, it's at Mouse Over. Mind Spike, it's the same as well. Shadow Word Death, I've got it also to dismount and make sure that it targets. At Cursor for Master Spell. I think the only other one I would use would be this one, my Pre-Pot Trinket. I do have Pre-Pot as its own separate binding, but also this one here, which I used a whole bunch during Wrath of the Lich King, because there wasn't really a DPS cooldown like we have in Archangel. So maybe this is a little bit redundant now, but the only toggle would be that it will only use this potion if I'm set in a raid group. So it just means that when you're questing, when you're doing 5-man dungeons, if you hit this, this key binding, it's not going to actually waste one of those pots. Obviously, if you join a raid, though, and that'll be the difference. So it just, once again, saves you the extra key binding and simplifies everything. So hopefully that was helpful. If you know a bunch of these, then, well, fantastic. You're already well on your way to becoming the best Shadow Priest possible. If you didn't, take it, give it a try, see how you feel. And if there's anything that you perhaps want or need to know, or perhaps you're curious about your own macro, let me know. Perhaps I know a little bit of information about it. We can discuss it in the comments section below.